There are some children who never get to be children. They don't play, they supervise. They don't dream, they plan. They don't ask for comfort, they become the comfort. While other kids are learning to tie their shoes, they're learning to tie someone else's life together. And somewhere, in the space between childhood and responsibility, they lose something they can never get back. The permission to be small. You remember it, don't you? The weight of a bottle in your hand when you were barely tall enough to reach the counter? The sound of crying in the middle of the night that wasn't your responsibility but somehow became it anyway. You remember standing in the kitchen, making sandwiches for lunch boxes that weren't yours? Checking homework, wiping tears, answering questions about things you didn't fully understand yourself. You were 7 or 9 or 12, and you were already a parent. But no one asked you if you were ready. No one asked if you wanted it. No one asked if it was fair. They just needed you, and so you became what they needed. You became the protector, the provider, the one who held it all together while you were still learning how to hold yourself. And the saddest part? You thought it was love. You thought this was what family meant, that sacrifice was supposed to hurt, that if you loved them enough, you wouldn't feel the weight of what you were carrying. But late at night, when the house finally went quiet, you'd lie awake and feel something you couldn't name. A hollowness, an ache that lived where childhood should have been. This pattern has a name. Psychologists call it parentification, when a child is forced to take on the emotional or practical responsibilities of an adult. It's often becoming a caregiver to their own siblings or even their parents. It happens in homes where the adults are absent, physically or emotionally, where addiction lives, where mental illness clouds judgment, where poverty demands that everyone, even the smallest, contributes to survival. It happens in homes where one parent is gone and the other is drowning, where cultural expectations place the eldest child in a role they never chose, where love exists but structure doesn't, and so the child steps up, not because they're mature, not because they're ready, because the alternative is watching everything fall apart. You learn to read a room before you learn to read a book. You learn to manage crisis before you learn to manage your own emotions. You learn that your needs were negotiable, but theirs were not. And the role became your identity. You weren't just the older sibling. You were the safe one, the responsible one, the one who didn't get to fall apart because someone had to keep the pieces together. And when people praised you for being so mature for your age, they didn't realize what it cost you. They didn't realize that maturity wasn't a gift you were born with. It was a survival skill you had no choice but to develop. Here's what happens in the brain of a parentified child. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning, decision-making, and emotional regulation, is forced to develop faster than it's designed to, while other children's brains are focused on play, exploration, and social bonding. Yours was focused on threat detection and responsibility management. Your amygdala, the fear center, stayed on high alert. Because if you missed something, if you forgot to pack their lunch, if you didn't notice they were upset, if you let something slip, there were consequences. And so, you learned hypervigilance. You learned to anticipate needs before they were spoken. You learned to read micro-expressions, to sense tension in a room, to know when someone was about to break. These are survival skills, but they come at a cost. Studies show that adults who were parentified as children often struggle with anxiety, chronic stress, and difficulty setting boundaries. They experience what researchers call role confusion, a blurred sense of where their responsibilities end and others begin. They carry what's known as compulsive caregiving, an inability to stop taking care of others even when it depletes them. Because somewhere deep in their nervous system, they learned that their worth is measured by how much they give. And perhaps most painfully, they struggle with what psychologists call ambiguous loss, the grief of a childhood that was never fully lived. You can't mourn what you never had, and yet the absence lives in you like a ghost. And here's the part that makes it so complicated. You love them. Your siblings, the ones you raised, the ones who looked up to you, who needed you, who still call you first when something goes wrong. You love them fiercely, and you wouldn't trade the bond you have with them for anything. But that doesn't mean it didn't hurt. That doesn't mean you don't feel a sharp pang of resentment when you see other people your age who got to be careless, who got to make mistakes without someone else paying the price, who got to be young. You feel guilty for that resentment, because how can you regret something that brought you so close to the people you love most? How can you be angry at them when they were just children too? And so you bury it. You tell yourself it made you stronger, that you're grateful for the maturity it gave you, that it wasn't that bad. But late at night, when you're alone with your thoughts, the truth whispers, it wasn't fair. You deserve to be taken care of too. You deserve to have your homework checked, to have your tears wiped, to have someone else carry the weight when it got too heavy. You deserved a childhood. No amount of love for your siblings changes the fact that you didn't get one. The shift begins when you finally see it for what it was. Not a choice, not a calling, not evidence of your strength, but a wound. You see it in the way you say yes when you mean no, in the way you can't accept help without feeling like a burden, in the way you monitor everyone's emotions except your own. See it in your relationships, how you attract people who need saving, how you stay long past the point when you should leave, how you've built your entire identity around being useful. And one day, something cracks. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's a moment when you realize you're still playing the same role decades later. Maybe someone asks you, when do you get to rest? You realize you don't have an answer. And in that moment, the question changes. It's no longer, how do I take care of everyone? It becomes, who's taking care of me? And the silence that follows is deafening. Because the answer, for so long, has been no one. Not because people don't love you, but because you taught them you didn't need it. You taught them you were fine. You taught them that your role was to give and theirs was to receive. And now you have to learn something terrifying. How to let yourself be small again. Healing doesn't mean you stop caring about your siblings. It doesn't mean you abandon the people you helped raise. It means you stop believing that your worth is measured by how much you carry. It starts with permission. Permission to be angry about what you lost. Permission to grieve the childhood that was taken from you. Permission to acknowledge that something was broken in the system that raised you and you were not responsible for fixing it. It means learning to set boundaries without guilt. It's to say, I love you, but I can't right now. To understand that taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. It means reparenting yourself. Giving yourself the gentleness you gave to others. Letting yourself rest without earning it. Allowing yourself to be messy, uncertain, and human. It means redefining your relationships. You are not their parent. You never were. You were their sibling who was forced into an impossible position. And now, you get to be their sibling again. Not the savior, not the safety net. It's just you, flawed, tired, deserving of care. The people who truly love you will adjust. They'll learn to see you as a whole person, not just a role. And the ones who can't, that will tell you something important too. Because you are not a resource to be used. You're a person who deserves to be loved, not for what you do, but for who you are. Will always be a part of you that's the protector. The one who notices when someone is struggling. The one who reaches out first. The one who makes space for others to fall apart because you know what it's like to have nowhere to land. That part of you is beautiful. It's evidence of your capacity for love, your strength, your resilience. But it's not all of you. Underneath the caretaker is the child who never got to rest, who never got to be held, who never got to believe that someone else would catch them if they fell. And that child is still there, waiting, quietly, hoping that one day you'll turn around and see them, that you'll pick them up, that you'll tell them you did enough. You were enough. You can rest now, because you were never supposed to raise yourself and everyone else. You were supposed to be raised. And even though it's too late to get that childhood back, it's not too late to give yourself what you deserved all along. Permission to be cared for. Permission to need. Permission to finally put the weight down. The people you raised will be okay. They're stronger because of you, yes. But they're also strong enough to stand on their own now. And maybe it's time you learn to stand too. It's not as a pillar holding up everyone else, but as yourself. Whole. Human. Free. If this story found you, if you saw yourself in these words, I want you to know something. You were not meant to carry that weight alone. Subscribe to this channel for more deep dives into the psychology of experiences that shape us. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that might help you. Understand the parts of yourself you've been too busy to notice. And please, drop a comment below. Tell me, what's one thing you did for your siblings that you wish someone had done for you? Let's honor those experiences together. You're not alone in this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me with your story, even if you never spoke it out loud. You deserved better then. You deserve better now. I hope you're finally starting to believe it. Until next time, be gentle with the child in you, who never got to rest.